I honestly can't believe that we are already past the halfway point of 2021. So this year has been the year of realizations for me, honestly. I've already realized that I love adult literature, and I've found the adult literature that I love and that I can easily identify in the store. And now my other realization has been that I hate TBRs. This past month in July, I decided to forego a TBR. I decided I'm going to read whatever I feel like reading, just whatever moves me. I am just going to start reading it and finish it, and then we'll move on to another book of my choosing. It's not going to be something that I plan every single month anymore. I used to really like TBRs. I liked the structure of a TBR. I liked not having to choose a book every single time I wanted to read something. And I really liked knowing that every month I would have a specific plan for what I was going to read. And that really worked for me for a little while. Until recently, when I started to feel really stifled by my TBRs. And by the middle of the month, by the end of the month, I would look at my TBR and realize I didn't really want to read any of those at that moment. Before I ever did BookTube, I was much more of a mood reader. I would literally just pick up whatever book I felt like and read it. And I think that also helped because I actually didn't have this many books growing up. Like, when I was little, when I was like a kid, a teenager, I had maybe a couple, like 24 books, I think. Like, that was the most I ever had as like an older teenager, like 19 years old. But when I was in middle school and high school, I had maybe like 10 books that I had, and it filled up one shelf. One shelf. Because I had one of these kind of bookshelves, but I literally just had one shelf of books, and it wasn't even filled all the way. But now that I'm older and I've been able to afford all these books, it's definitely been a lot harder trying to stick to a TBR and feeling a little overwhelmed at like, I have all these choices, what do I read? But since foregoing a TBR for the month of July, I've actually really enjoyed just kind of getting to pick a book off the shelf and read it. However, with that being said, I still have a stack of books that I really want to read by the end of the year. So I picked out 10 of these books and I'm going to share them with you all. And these are the books that I would love to finish by the end of the year. So the first book in this stack is Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse, and I bought this when it first came out and everybody was like raving about it. It was so popular. And I meant to read it. I have the audiobook as well. I really wanted to read it, and then I just never really got around to it. So I 100% want to read this book by the end of the year. Like, I will be majorly disappointed if I don't read it. I think one of the things that has been dissuading me from reading it for so long is that I really don't even have an inkling about what this book is about. Like with most books, even if I don't know the specifics of what the book is about, I still have a general idea. But with this one, I really don't know what it's gonna be about. So I think that the unknown is freaking me out a little bit. It's a little overwhelming. But like I said, I'm gonna be super disappointed if by the end of 2021, I still haven't read this book. It says, "A god will return when the earth and sky converge under the black sun. In the holy city of Tova, the winter solstice is usually a time for celebration and renewal. But this year it coincides with the solar eclipse, a rare celestial event prescribed by the sun priest as an unbalancing of the world. Meanwhile, a ship launches from a distant city bound for Tova and set to arrive on the solstice. The captain of the ship, Shiala, is a disgraced teak whose song can calm the waters around her as easily as it can warp a man's mind. Her ship carries one passenger, described as harmless, the passenger Serapio, blind, scarred, and cloaked in destiny. As Shiala well knows, when a man is described as harmless, he usually ends up being a villain." Even the synopsis of this book is very vague. I really don't know what's going to happen in this book. I'm still super excited about it. The next book on this stack is one I absolutely need to get to. It's crazy that I haven't read it yet, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I love Romeo and Juliet so much. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that sometimes I might go on a little bit of a rant about Romeo and Juliet, but I do love the play so much. I love Shakespeare, and it's just so weird to me that I haven't picked this book up. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I really don't read very many Shakespeare retellings anymore, but I definitely want to get back into it because I actually do have quite a few on my shelf. So I think that this will be a really fun book to get into. Some of these are fantasy, so I have been kind of putting them off until like the fall season, because I love reading fantasy in the fall, and it's summertime right now, so I've been in a little bit of a contemporary mood, but once it's like September, October, you will see me reading so much fantasy. The next book is a contemporary, so I do kind of want to get to it soon, and that is Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. And this is a YA contemporary, which I've kind of been distancing myself from YA contemporary for a little bit. But I did receive this book, I think a couple of months ago, and ever since then I've been seeing so many good things about this book. I have been seeing so many people read it and love it, and I keep looking at it on my shelf and being like, I need to read this book soon. So I'm hoping that within the next month or so I will be able to get to it and read it and love it, because I also do have the sequel. So once I read this book, I can go read the sequel, and it'll be a really great time. On the back it says, Darius Kellner speaks better Klingon than Farsi, and he knows more about Hobbit social cues than Persian ones. He's a fractional Persian, half his mom's side, and his first ever trip to Iran is about to change his life. Darius has never really fit in at home, and he's sure things are going to be the same in Iran. His clinical depression doesn't exactly help matters, and trying to explain his medication to his grandparents only makes things harder. Then Darius meets Sarab, the boy next door, and everything changes. Soon they're spending their days together playing soccer, eating falude, and talking for hours on a secret rooftop overlooking the city's skyline. I think I'm really gonna like this book. Sorry, I just read the rest of it in my head. I really do think I'm gonna like this book. Okay, I'm really excited about it now. I feel like I knew what this book was about, and that's why I was so excited, but just rereading the synopsis makes me even more excited about it. Okay, I think that I might need to pick this up soon. I think it might be a read that I pick up within this month, so I'm super excited about this book. I can't even explain it. It's just like, it seems like the vibes are right. I'm going to love it. The next book is another YA book, and that is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyamide, and I'm so excited about this book. It is dark academia. It deals a lot with racism, and I've heard so many good things about this lately. So many people have been reading it, and I'm so ready to get into it. I think this will definitely be like a September, October read rather than anything too soon, but I am super excited to read it. I love dark academia kind of books. I think they're so much fun. And this one I've heard described as kind of like Gossip Girl-esque, so that'll be really interesting as well. The next book is another kind of dark academia book, and that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. And this is a book that I feel like I am so late to the game on. I really need to read this book. I think I actually bought this recently. I can't remember if I bought it for my birthday or if I bought it another time I went to Barnes & Noble, but I know that I bought it there, so it was definitely recent. But this one has been a booktube and just like book community favorite in general. And I feel like with so many V.E. Schwab books, I am very much behind. I've read halfway through A Darker Shade of Magic and I really like it, but I just haven't finished it. So that also should probably be on this list as well. But I decided to go with Vicious because I am really intrigued by the general dark academia setting. And I really want to dive into this book because it does deal with like this gray morality, this almost like villain aspect, and I want to see that explored in this book. I think that's going to be super interesting. And you know me, I really like villain origin stories, so I think I'm going to enjoy this book. I am just a little bit nervous and a little bit intimidated. The next book is another backlist title, and that is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I got this book from Chandler. literally probably like a year or two ago, like so long ago, and I still haven't read it, but I definitely want to read it. She got it from my Amazon wish list a while ago, and I feel bad because I just have never read it. I definitely want to pick this book up. I'm pretty sure from what I remember of the synopsis, it has a little bit of a Snow White-esque element to it. It says, Hazel and her brother Ben live in Fairfold, where humans and the folk exist side by side. Since they were children, Hazel and Ben have been telling each other stories about the boy in the glass coffin, that he is a prince and they are valiant knights. But as Hazel grows up, she puts aside those stories. Hazel knows the horned boy will never wake, until one day he does. So it does kind of have that Snow White aspect a little bit, maybe even a little bit of Sleeping Beauty. So I will be very intrigued to read this book. I love Holly Black's writing, and I am very excited because I do have a couple of other Holly Black books as well. I have that collection of the modern fairy tales, but I think I want to get to this one before I get to her older books. The next book is another one I got recently, but I am very, very excited to get to it, and that is Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. And there's just something about this book that I think I'm going to absolutely love. I have read the first chapter of it because I want to just kind of get the vibe of it to see if I wanted to pick it up. And it definitely has that like Heather's Undead Girl Gang, Kill the Boy Band kind of vibe. And I love those kind of books. Like Undead Girl Gang is so funny. Kill the Boy Band was so funny. I absolutely love those books. And they're just kind of like satirical and dry and witty, and I'm just so ready to get into this book. I think it's going to be both very satirical and also very serious. I know that this deals with conversion therapy, so it is going to have some heavier aspects to it, but I do think that overall it'll be really interesting and funny, and like I said, satirical. The next book I want to read is actually the only sequel that I have on this list, and that is The Missing of Claire de Lune by Christelle DeBeau, and this is the sequel to A Winter's Promise, which I read earlier this year, I want to say. Lately, I have been thinking about this series so much, which is so weird because after I read A Winter's Promise, I was really excited to get into the sequel books, but then for a while I just kind of forgot about it and just wasn't as interested in them, wasn't as passionate about the series. But I've been noticing within the past week or so, I have been thinking about Ophelia in this book so much, which is really, really weird. And I've been really, really anxious to start this book, so I think this might be one of the books that I start the earliest. I'm just really, really excited about it. I think I'm going to love it. I want to see what happens to Ophelia, what happens with her story, where she kind of goes within this world. I think it's going to be really fun, and the first book didn't have a lot of romance in it, so I don't know if this is like misguided at all, but I am actually really hoping for some romance in this book. I think it'll be super interesting. I want to see where Ophelia goes within this relationship, so we'll see where it goes, but I am super, super excited about this book. It is a thick one though. I think it's probably the longest book that I have on this list, beside maybe the next book. It's over 500 pages, so it'll definitely be a big book, but like the first book, I'll definitely listen to the audio for this one. It just makes the book go a little bit faster when you're listening to the audiobook and then reading it physically at the same time. It's so much fun. So yeah, I am really excited about finishing off this series. This is the second book. I also have the third book, and I don't know if the fourth book has come out yet. I think it comes out in September, I want to say. So maybe I will try to get these books done before the fourth book comes out. The second to last book in this stack is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And this is another book that I feel like I am so behind on. This is another dark academia book. This is like the OG dark academia book. And it's one that I'm just so excited to read. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. It's another thick book. Let's see how many pages. Oh yeah, it's well over 500 pages. So it'll definitely be a long one to get through. I just hope that I end up liking it so it goes a little bit faster. But we'll see. You know, I've heard some really mixed things about this book. I've heard some people really love it, some people really hate it. Some people like The Goldfinch better, some people like this book better. I am really hoping that I end up loving this book, because if I don't, I will be highly disappointed. And last but not least, there is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I am so excited to read this book. I know I'm so behind. I feel like every single person in the booktube community, in the book community in general, has read this book, and I know I need to read it. I need to read it. I'm just really nervous about it. So I hope that I end up loving this book. I hope that it resonates with me. I hope that it's a fun and exciting fantasy, and I'm really excited to read about the history, and I think I'm really gonna like it. I have this feeling that I'm going to fall in love with this book, so that makes me a little bit nervous to be like disappointed. But like I said, I think I'm going to like it. I have a really good feeling about it. I think also the fact that I've been reading a lot of contemporary lately, I've been a little bit nervous to jump into a fantasy, so we're gonna see how it goes. Alright, so these are all of the books. These are all of them. All 10 of them. They're kind of really big. They're really heavy. I also don't want to get makeup on the Poppy War because it is a white cover, so I'm afraid of like putting my face down onto it. But yeah, these are a lot of books. These are pretty, this is a hefty stack of books. I can't put it down now, so we're just gonna have to do the outro while I'm holding the books. Let me know down below in the comments if there are any books that you are planning to read by the end of 2021. I'm sure we all have our stack of 10 books that we want to read. And let me know if there are any other books that I should be looking out for before the end of the year. I really just... I have so many books though. It's just like, that's the problem. I have so many. How am I gonna read all of them? I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, Storygraph, TikTok. All the links are down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you.